The TLM microphone was originally created in 1997 to be a cheaper alternative to the U87 microphone. Is it indeed a microphone that you can buy and get similar results from, or is it a completely different microphone that is very, very hard to compare to the U87? I'm going to cover everything you need to know about that microphone and how you should be using it to get the best results out of it, as well as what you can expect if you're looking for that U87 sound and character. First and foremost, we need to look at what TLM means. It means transformerless microphone. TLM microphone is a transformerless microphone. And when you don't have a transformer in a microphone, there is a very big difference in terms of the sonic characteristics of both the mid-range and the top end that it becomes abundantly clear, especially when comparing the U87, which is not a transformerless microphone, even though it does have the same K-capsule. Part of that really famous sound that we know and love from the U87, that mid-range that is so musical and thick and just analog-y, as well as that top end that's really, really smooth, comes from it not being a transformerless microphone. When you do use transformerless microphones, the benefit and advantages of it are exceptional clarity and exceptional detail. You get a lot more clarity and push in that top end, a lot more clarity and detail in the mid-range. But where it can sometimes falter is that it can quickly get harsh. It can quickly get a little bit too aggressive sounding, too forward sounding, a little bit less musical and less natural sounding when comparing it to something like a U87. Now, logically speaking, if they both have similar capsules, if they both are engineered to, in essence, create a similar Neumann character, there must be a way to get it to sound like U87 or sound good, even if it does sound different, even if it does miss those transformers that impart that mid-range and that top-end smoothness. There's got to be a way to get the TLM 103 to sound in the same ballpark. And there absolutely is. When you consider the TLM 103 as a microphone being a transformerless microphone, a very simple and logical solution to making it sound like a U87 is introducing transformers into the signal chain. If you do something as simple as including transformers in the signal chain before that microphone signal hits your interface directly, such as putting a compressor in between or a good EQ in between or using the right preamp, you can get closer to that natural U87 character of being a transformer microphone. Now, in the case of the TLM 103, the problems that we want to tackle first and foremost are that the top end is a little bit too forward, maybe a little bit too brittle, a little too harsh, but very clear, and that the mid-range isn't necessarily very deep. It's not very open the same way that the U87 mid-range is. So approaching that, we want to look for signal paths that we can take that are going to add those things back into the signal. Since the signal has already been created out of the microphone, there was no transformer in the inception of that signal. And when they were impedance matched inside of that microphone, when that signal was created, there was a character that left the microphone that now we have to undo. Right? So in undoing it, we might have to introduce things into the signal path that we wouldn't for U87, such as a tube preamp. We want to smooth those highs, so using a tube preamp can be a really good solution to keeping the clarity but also getting more smoothness from the TLM 103. A good tube preamp that can work very, very well with the TLM 103 is the UA610 Solo or 610 preamp lineup in general. Now, we all know there are good compressor options for adding thickness, for getting quality, character, for getting all the things we want out of our microphones, but what I want to focus on in particular is controlling that clarity, controlling that mid-range. Since the TLM 103 is so clear, since it's so forward, since it's so splatty, it has that kind of character to it, I want to control that. I want to improve upon that and add some thickness and saturation, but also control it. So in order to do that, an 1176 or an LA2A style compressor could be a really, really good way to go. And in the case of using a tube preamp, if I'm using that with this TLM 103, naturally, two exceptionally high quality options for using the TLM 103 include using the 6176 or the LA610 Mark II. And those are two brilliant channel strips, whether you're using the 103 or the 87. But I do think it really specifically, the LA610 in particular, helps the 103 really shine, really give that analog mojo, really present it with a really nice, finished, smooth analog feel. And when you do that, all of a sudden that Neumann character comes through and you're all of a sudden in the ballpark of the U87 magic, of that Transformer mic character sound, of that iconic U87 vibe. Okay, so the TLM-103 is not naturally engineered to sound the same as U87. And there's actually one video in particular that I thought was the only one that really demonstrated the differences properly between these two microphones. They did use a good digital preamp. They did a good little presentation on it. I'm going to put the link in the description below because, again, I think it's the only really good one out there. So have a look at it. It demonstrates the difference in sound and what you can expect from both. Now, knowing that difference, once you go check that out, if you don't already know the difference, the only way to get them close together is to add other pieces to the puzzle. One mic has a transformer, the other doesn't. That's the main difference here between these microphones, a transformerless microphone and a U87 microphone. Okay, so hopefully this helps you get really high quality recordings out of your TLM-103. Don't fret if you can't get that chain, if you can't get that channel strip, even though I would highly recommend it. If you can't get that channel strip and you're really worried, like, I don't want to spend all these thousands of dollars on a channel strip, I get it. It's going to be a lifelong investment for you no matter what happens, and it'll always sell well if you get either the 6176 or the LA610, both really, really good, but you can always give this a try too. Using the emulations inside of an Apollo, using a digital preamp that's more dark, that has, I don't know, some of that character that you might be looking for. These are alternatives that might not get you all the way there, but could be good in the meantime while you save up towards a channel strip or towards adding a real transformer into your chain. And till then, I hope this video shed some light on this topic. Thanks very much for tuning in, and ciao.